I guess looking back on it, started to become an entrepreneur was I wanted to create something that other people could enjoy.
Josh Elizetxe, who is my guest on the show today, went from starting off by building websites to creating Snow, which is a teeth whitening company, and they are on track to do $40 million this year. So I know that you are just going to love this interview with Josh. He just really shares everything. He's such a down-to-earth entrepreneur. So enjoy the interview. Hey, Josh, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Well, I'm so excited to hear this story because a lot of times, I get hit up by like brand new entrepreneurs who have had like a hot minute of success, so, and then they're telling me like one little story. But I mean, you really have built like a big business here. So I'm very excited to hear this story. So let's just back up a little bit and how did you get started with like building an e-commerce brand? Like what was the first thing that you started to do as a new entrepreneur?
Well, I started really, really young. So I started when I was 13 years old, and I'm the youngest sibling in my family. So I always felt older. And my closest sibling, my sister, is 7 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
So just growing up, I always just felt older, and so I felt this need to want to make my own money. I wanted to help my family out. This need to help my family out at an early age, and so when I was 13, it just so happened that I was spending a lot of time at the Phoenix Public Library in my area, and while I was at the library. If I wasn't in football practice or if I was in track and field, so off season, sometimes on the weekends, I would spend time there because it was a safe place for my parents felt safe if I spent time at the library versus outside in the streets. And so kind of where I grew up and in the neighborhood I grew up in, there were some things going on where my parents just felt a lot more safe if would stay at the library. And so the friends I made at the library were playing, video games, normal stuff that, teenage kids would be doing. And so I found out that there was a competition at the library so that if you read a book, you take a test, you would get these points, and these points could be cashed in for baseball tickets and just different goods and all that stuff. So I'm very competitive. So when I looked at the competition or the program, I realized that if you read difficult books, you get more points, which made sense. They wanted to incentivize you to read those challenging books. Nobody really wanted to read those big, long novels in order to get the 10 points. They wanted to read the easier books to get the 2 points. Well, I found that the reference books, like the For Dummies books, would give you 10 points, but they actually weren't that difficult to read. Mm-hmm. So I started tearing through all of those books, and I always had a fascination with computers. I was always interested in computers. And so after reading a couple of those books about how to make a website, programming, I was really fascinated with the idea that while my friends were playing games and playing on websites, that I could make those websites. And so once I realized that that I wanted to make the games that other people played, was kind of that realization. I didn't know it at the time, but that was kind of looking back on it, that shift of moving from consumption to production. So that's really when I guess looking back on it, started to become an entrepreneur was I wanted to create something that other people could enjoy. And so I started using the library computers because we didn't have a computer at home. So I started using the 1 hour a day I had that they would give you with your library card at the library to start to build these websites and really start to just kind of see what I could do. I was interested. I'm just tinkering. And I started making these websites just for fun with just random stuff on them. And then I realized I could create blogs, which allowed me to kind of express myself through there. So I found an outlet of expression where I could talk about, for example, all the technology that was coming out. I remember the iPhone was first coming out at this time, and I was so fascinated by the iPhone that I created a blog talking all about all the rumors of the iPhone. What is it going to be like? How much is it going to cost? And so I started getting comments on the blog that I had created, and I thought that was the most wild thing. And I was writing under pen names. Nobody knew who I was. But these comments were from all over the world of people interacting with what I was creating. And so that was the first time where I had that realization that I could create something that not only could my friends at the library or my friends at school could enjoy, but that people all around the world could enjoy. And so, long story short, with the library story is that one day I got an email from a company that was creating accessories for the iPhone that was going to come out, and they offered to advertise on my blog. And so I had no idea what that meant. I printed out the email, for 15, 25 cents at the library, and, showed it to my dad, and he's like, no, be careful. There are a lot of scams. Like, just don't respond to the email. And of course, like any stubborn teenager, I responded to the email, and I was able to convince my parents to create a PayPal account. And so I think I used some kind of excuse where I think my dad was fixing something in the house, and I was like, oh, you can get it online a lot cheaper, but you need to have a PayPal account in order to buy, the piece a lot cheaper. And so he created a PayPal account, and I sent that email address for the PayPal account over to this company. And a couple of days later, they sent the payment. And so I think it was like $400.
Wow.
So I showed my dad that they sent the $400, and he's like, it's just numbers on a screen. Be careful. Like, just being a good parent, just like, hey, be careful what's going on here. And so, I left the India account, left in the PayPal account for 30 days. And then, about after a month, I got another $400 payment. So they all they wanted was a little banner. I remember having to Google, like, what does internet ad mean, or what does a banner ad mean? How do I place that on? I was like, really? They just want me to put a little picture with a link to it right on my blog? I was like, that seems pretty easy. So I put it up, and then 30 days goes by, and they send another $400. And I was like, what? Like, there's something what do they want from me? Like, what happened? So I remember emailing, and they're like, yeah, that's what we agreed to, right? $400 a month. Like, is everything okay? And I was like, oh, they meant $400 a month. I thought it was just $400 one time.
Yeah.
So I was just shocked by this whole world of online advertising. I was blogging, and so I went on a spree of creating as many blogs as I could, because I realized that if I could have 100 of these things, and I can make money from 100 of them. And that's when I found out about Google AdSense, getting paid for the clicks. And then I found the website called SitePoint.com, which eventually spun off into Flippa.com, where I could buy and sell websites. And so I realized I could sell the blogs I was creating. And in order for me to sell them for more money, I had to get more traffic, more readers to my website. So that's when I started reading all the books on search engine optimization. And really, I had to focus on search engine optimization, SEO, because I didn't have the money to advertise. And so I got really, really good at search engine optimization, because that was the only thing I could do, the only thing I could afford. And so I got so good at it that I would spin up a website. I would do all the SEO to it, create the content. I was writing this stuff myself, literally grabbing magazines off of the public library, depending on the topic of the blog, read the magazine, and then kind of get some more research, and then I would write it. So I was cranking out 20 to 40 articles a day.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Well, I felt like I was able to print money, essentially, because the more I could write, the more money I would make, and then I could sell them. And so I was able to buy my first car. I was able to buy a computer, for the house, and I was able to really start doing this. And I remember I was 15 years old when I realized, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I don't know what this is, but I was like, I love creating these things, creating value, all these people reading, commenting. It's under a pen name, it's anonymous, but I just felt like I was Harry Potter, and I had found like a magic wand.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so that was the initial start. Was I wanted to make some money. I wanted it to help my family out, at least by being able to buy my own like underwear and socks. And like, I felt like I was helping my family out, because I could pay for things, that school needed, sports and all of this. And so I felt independent, and I kind of got hooked on creating that stuff. So that's where it initially started.
That's just like that's probably one of the best stories I've heard on the show so far, because one, it shows like just how the incentive to go out there and learn stuff, and so many people want these quick fixes, and that part of the story you told me took about 2 years, right? Where it was just like, every day or, over and over. And I remember as a kid too, just like loving the library. And I wonder if that's something that is just kind of like a dying off thing with the internet and stuff, because I used to love to go to the library too as a kid. It's just like, I don't know, just like a world of opportunity within books, so.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
Now, okay, so now here you are 15, the ripe old age of 15.
Right.
And so did you go to college, or did you just kept on marching along with your blogs? And
So this is really important, and I talk to thousands of students a year now, and for me, it was very important for me to graduate high school and to go to college because being the first in my family to graduate college was something I looked up to, and I really wanted to. I really wanted to complete that circle, and so especially being the youngest in my family. So I had an agreement with my parents. They said, I don't know what exactly it is that you're doing, but as long as you keep your grades up, you can do essentially whatever you want to do as long as it's legal and you're safe and like you do whatever you want, just keep your grades up. And so I was like, okay, I took that seriously. And so, I really focused on school. I ended up having to give up some of my extracurricular activities so that I could build more websites. And I started to hire people online because I remember going to Google and searching how to hire people online because I started getting clients offline because teachers would find out that I knew how to make websites. They would tell their friends, and nobody knew really at school beyond the few teachers, maybe like one or two friends. I didn't really share with anyone what I was actually doing because I was kind of embarrassed by it. I thought I didn't know if it was cool or not. I didn't know, like I knew that I was starting to make my own money. That was cool, but I didn't know how to share this with people, and so I was doing it really anonymously by myself. And so I started hiring people, in the Philippines, Pakistan, India, like all over through freelancer.com, Elance, to help me make more websites while I was in school. And so, I started to pay them $4, $5, $10 an hour. It was all through Skype that I would communicate with them. And so when I would go to school, they would be building the websites. And then, when I would get off of school, I would take over from there, and I could talk to clients. And I remember charging like $500 for a website, and these clients were so blown away because here they are. They're like, there's a 15-year-old kid who makes websites. They're incredibly well done. He does it in a weekend instead of 6 months, and it's cheap. And so naturally, the word started spreading. If you give massive value for a fraction of the cost for something that businesses really need, the word just naturally spreads. And then the fact that I was younger, of course, they wanted to help out. But it was just, I took every job I took as a huge pride. So back to school, I was like, I got to get straight A's so that I could keep my parents off my back.
Right.
And all that. So I got straight A's. I graduated valedictorian of my high school, 500 kids in the class. And so that was kind of like, look, I graduated valedictorian, like keep letting me do what I want to do because I really, really love this internet stuff. So I would stay up till 2 a.m. I would do homework and then I would stay up till 2 a.m. Researching, creating websites, writing. And I wasn't always the biggest reader. I wasn't always the biggest writer, but I kind of just fell in love with this world. And so I graduated valedictorian. I went to Arizona State University. I was looking at Stanford and a couple of the Ivy Leagues, but I realized that I kind of had something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life already. And I wanted to stay close to my family. So I stayed in Arizona. I went to Arizona State University and the honors college there as well. So I was in a business school, running my business from my dorm room. And by this time I had dozens of online workers working for me. So I graduated actually from the business school and the honors college in 2 years. So I came in with almost no credits. I took 22 to 24 credits a semester, 16 credits in the summer while running my business. And I graduated right at 20 years old. I was completely done with my bachelor's degree. So that really, no one was pushing me to do that. It was really my business. I knew my business was growing really, really fast. And I couldn't drop out because it just, my heart, my mind, I realized that getting a college degree was about more than just for myself. It was for my family. It was for my future kids. It was for the community. Like I realized that I was going to school not just for me. It was I wanted to become that role model, especially in the Hispanic community, for me to show that you can get straight A's. And so I continued. I graduated summa cum laude, top of my class from the business school and the honors college. Did my honors thesis, ran a multi-million-dollar business from my dorm room, and did all of that, and was still involved in college and university, and still was able to sleep and still was able to have friends. And so I just had to figure it out. I'm just one of those guys that, there's 24 hours. I got to figure out how to get everything done. So I have to be super productive. And so long story short, I graduated college. I never dropped out. I focused on high performance in every area of my life. And I used tutoring centers, writing centers, every resource that was free at the university, I utilized as a resource to help me because I had so much going on.
Right.
And so I was done. I graduated at 20 years old. And for the last 5-6 years, I've just been doing business full time. And I ended up selling that business I started 2 years after I graduated college. So that was another change in my life.
And that was the website building business that was already $1 million business by the time you got out of college?
Well, so what happened is that, so it was a service-based business, and we're essentially just like an agency. We're just making we're doing web development, software development, and then we started doing a lot of advertising management because when I was maybe 16 years old, I had a client come to me and say, Josh, the websites you build are incredible. You're an incredible programmer, incredible designer. And I was like, thank you. I was like, I really appreciate it. And but here's the thing. Once I pay you for this and the website's done, you have to go find another client. You have to go do it again.
Uh-huh.
Like, if you were to learn sales and marketing online, I could pay you monthly to do this for me. And then you don't have to go and get another client.
Mm-hmm.
Start making monthly money. And I was like, wow. I was like, okay, what do I need to do to learn how to do that? And he's like, you need to learn how to manage other people's money for advertising so that you can drive them traffic, sales, and all this. So I started learning about conversion rate optimization, Google AdWords, like all of this. And so that over the next few years, from 16 years old, once I figured that out, that's when I was able to really build a business and really hire people because I had money coming in each month. Then from that, I remember researching and seeing that service businesses, especially like agencies like that, didn't sell for a lot of a high multiple.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, you know what? What if we take our most popular service offering and productize it into a platform? So pretty much what we did is just take the online advertising management, so managing other people's money to drive sales, put that into a platform where people could see, dashboard, all the reporting, they could move the money around, they could see how much they're acquiring customers across the channels. We built this for the traditional media companies, the traditional PR agencies that wanted to bring their clients over from billboards, commercials, TV over to online, but didn't necessarily have the resources internally to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. So it was like an augmented tool, like a dashboard. It was really a glorified platform that allowed them to show their clients what they could do online versus offline, and then manage all of that. And then what we did is we added our service on top of that. So it's a managed service to the platform. So now I had dependable recurring income on the platform. And even if they fired us from the managed services, they would still use our platform.
Right.
I created that model and was able to find someone to buy that business. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult if we just had the service component.
Yeah, that makes complete sense because I started with Facebook advertising where I was running Facebook ads for people. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just like, how do you scale this without driving yourself crazy? So you kind of like solved the problem that a lot of like my buddies that I talk with online that are still like, okay, I've basically just created myself a really hard job, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that makes complete sense. And I like the fact that, because I hear a lot of like online marketers these days talk about how worthless college is. And I don't agree. So my background is accounting and, I guess just the normal numbers girl in me is just like, I think college is important. So it's nice to hear people say that. I like, everybody's like, oh, the college education is broken, but I don't know.
You know what? It's an unpopular opinion, and it's, and I understand. I get the point of the cost of college compared to the value. Like, I get all of that, but at the same time, it's unpopular because if you look at like valedictorians, there's one. if you look at everybody else, there's 499.
Yeah.
So if the popular opinion is always going to be on the majority, which is the 499 people are going to say that A players work for C players or B players. That's
Mm-hmm.
the popular opinion. The truth is, true A players, true A students run
Mm-hmm.
the world. And the truth of the matter is that you, and both sides. I'm not trying to juxtapose anything, but the use of my vocabulary, like if I look at my advantages in business, the fact that I'm incredibly literate, and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I've read so many a diverse range of books because college forced me to read classic literature,
Mm-hmm.
to understand Confucius, to understand the way that the ancient philosophers thought. Now, of course, you can learn this on your own, absolutely. But if you're in an environment where you're forced to perform, and if you're someone like me who I have to get straight A's, which means I have to read the book and I have to learn how to read fast. I have to learn how to take tests under pressure. I have to learn how to work with teams. And I ultimately have to learn how to learn. And
Right.
college is a high stakes environment where if you take it seriously, you're forced to learn in that environment. And I look now at my ability to communicate, my ability to convey complex thoughts and distill the complexities in a simplistic way that anyone can understand. My use of vocabulary, all of that, it stems to my formal education. And now
Mm-hmm.
you could formalize your own self-education for sure. My favorite Mark Twain quote is never let schooling interfere with the education.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you can't completely negate the fact that there is this tried, tested, and true system for 400 years that we've developed a university system so that people can learn how to learn.
I
That's
agree.
very important.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the cost and all this other stuff, okay, I get it. If you're not going to take it serious, probably don't go spend 40,000 a year. But if
Right.
you take it seriously and you're going to learn hard skills, at least mental learning models, so you can apply them to offline,
Mm-hmm.
it's given me a huge leg up. And I was able to synthesize 4 years of education into two. So
Right.
I had a hyper path to be able to then go into the business world. And that gave me a huge jump start. Now, that's the truth is that's unpopular. Not a lot of people say that because it's a lot easier to say the majority's opinion. And I'm not saying that that's wrong either. I'm saying that you can't just say that all school is bad, all university is
Exactly.
bad, or
Yeah.
straight A students work for C students no matter what. Some of the smartest people I know, you look at the greats like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and whoever dropped out of college, you have to keep in mind they dropped out of Harvard and they
Right.
have incredibly high IQs.
Yeah.
Bill Gates had read thousands of books by the time he dropped out of anything. So you
Right.
can't simply say, and this is hard for a lot of millennials from when I'm speaking in front of millennials,
Yeah. Yeah.
very difficult. I get a lot of side eyes when I'm saying this. And I said, they're like, why do I have to go to school? I'm going to drop out and be a billionaire. I
Yeah.
said, listen, sweetheart, if you're in Harvard and you have the IQ that Bill Gates has, and you have an incredible idea that you're building yourself, and you're at Harvard and you want to drop out, give me a call and we'll chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, simply using that as the general opinion is just
Right.
not going to apply.
Yeah, I love the way you explain that because yeah, I think it's so easy to see these like Instagram stars and just be like, I'm gonna drop out and be like, it's like okay.
You know,
But
the
when
other thing that's
people apply
dangerous
it,
is, and I say this because coming from the background I come from, of people that may not come from financially stable homes,
hmm
or they're minority in some way, shape, or form, is that education, especially formalized education, is really the great equalizer in the economy, and that means that the majority of the students I speak to are not going to be entrepreneurs. They're
right,
they're they're not going to go out there and start big businesses. They're going to be accountants. They're going to be doctors. They're going to be lawyers. They're going to be people that make a sufficient and make a great living, providing for their family and impacting their local community. And so for me to go up there and say that college is a waste of time to those students, the formalized education is really the great equalizer in order for these socioeconomic disadvantaged communities to get uplifted into the mainstream. And
Right.
so if I go and make this generalization and say that college is not good, especially if I'm a role model to those students, that's why I graduated college and I did it at a high level, because I wanted to go and say, listen, you got a business, it's doing well. I had $1 million business, and guess what I did? I took more credits. I finished college, and I was able to figure it out. So you have no excuse. You can do both. And at the end of the day, you're 22 years old. You're a baby, but at least you have your degree, and you can go and do whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah.
But I can't go and say college is bad as a generalization, because the students I speak to need to get their degree in
Yeah.
order to have a fighting chance to move into the mainstream and to provide for their family. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I thank you for saying that, because I think that is so important and so against what a lot of people are promoting online. So it's super important. So okay, so once you sold your business, now let's get to your current business, which is this amazing snow product that you've created that has just blown up. So let's hear how did that all come about?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the truth is, Heather, so I graduated college at 20 years old, and I remember walking out of my last class, and it was during the summer. It was international economics. It was one of the most difficult classes I had taken, not because of the content, but because of the professor was almost impossible to understand through his accent. And I'm really good with accents. My dad has a very strong Spanish accent from Spain, and it was a very difficult class. I walk out, and it was the most lackluster kind of celebratory moment for me, because I celebrated with myself, but it was like no one was in university. It was summer. I'm all by myself. And I realized that at that moment, I was like, I have to do things not expecting anyone else to applaud me, but because I want to do them for myself, and that will lead to ripple. And so that was me leaving college. And what happened is, for the first time in my life, I had 24 hours a day to work. I never before then had the opportunity. I was always in school. I had to split my time.
Hmm.
So I went hardcore into working 16 hours straight a day, 7 days a week, traveling to close client deals. I built an office locally, started hiring dozens of people, and just went into hyper growth mode. And everything started with $100 that I had when I was 13, not even 13 years old. I had like $10 to buy a domain name. Like, I had everything. I snowballed into every dollar I had. I would put right back in, right back in, right back in. And so 7 years of doing that, I sat there and said, you know what, I'm going to work my butt off. And so I started working 16 hours a day for 2 years straight. And so I had gained a lot of weight. I was not very healthy.
Hmm.
I remember going into my doctor, and him telling me that I'm pre-diabetic, and a lot of my family members have diabetes. So I was terrified. And so I was like, something has to change. And that's why I spent those 2 years, or really a year and a half, transitioning our most popular service into a productized offering, so that I had a light at the end of the tunnel, because I knew that I wanted to shift my focus to building brands that we owned, we ran, we were in charge of. Because I would see my team, I had some of the smartest people working with me, and we would pitch an idea to a client, and they'd be like, oh, let's try it next quarter, let's try this. And so I started creating side projects for my team, so that anytime they would get shut down by a client, I would say, you know what, guys, let's try that on our side project. Like, that's a great idea. Let's do it here. It also was a hedge against losing any big clients where I had to fire, people that I liked. I never wanted to fire anyone that I liked. And so we had these side projects started to make money. So, what happened is that when I sold that first business, I had made a lot of money, and I was sitting there and I said, I'm not happy though. Like, something changed. And so I became, semi-depressed, and I'm the most optimistic, energetic person that I know. And I couldn't get out of bed. I mean, I was like, what is going on here? And I didn't want to do anything. I slept until noon, sometimes 2 p.m. in the daytime. I was just kind of drifting mentally. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I realized that this pursuit of happiness, like I'm going to work, and then once I have this amount of money in the bank, everything will be solved. I realized that what really was driving me was the addiction to growth, and
Hmm.
like having something to do, money not attached, none of that, purely just growing, growing, growing. So I was like, okay, the next thing I do has to be huge. It has to be a huge market. It has to be a brand that I could run for 50 years because I am running away from that depression, that loss of vehicle of growth for me to have my happiness. And so the pursuit is my happiness. And so I have to be pursuing. So that's when I was, at the time I became friends with a lot of dentists, orthodontists. I had jaw surgery done. They took out my top jaw, did all of this. I had braces multiple times. And so of course the dentists and they would see the cars I would come into the office with, and they knew how old I was. So they're like, what do you do? So we became friends because I would give them marketing advice. I'd connect them to different people for Facebook ads, Google ads. So one day we're at dinner and I'm like, where's the money at for a guy like me who's not a dentist? I'm not a doctor. And they said, well, there's a gap in the marketplace. And it's not easy to solve, but it's something that you could do, which is teeth whitening. I was like, oh, I know teeth whitening very well from a consumer standpoint. They said, do you have the strips on one side?
Yeah.
And then you have the dental treatments on the other side. Not convenient, expensive, cause sensitivity, not very effective. You have to keep buying them.
Yeah.
And all that. So I was like, if we could create something in the middle, that could be a huge opportunity for us. And so that was about 2.5 to 3 years ago when I started to research. And I have that obsessive mind where I just research every marketing study, every dental clinical study, asking all my dentist friends, can you connect me to someone? I'll pay them hourly. I just want to pick their brain. And so we started looking at the formula. And so we started with the formula. We came out with the formula that was strong enough to give you the results you're looking for without causing the sensitivity. And I put that online, and we started running Facebook ads, Google ads, and just seeing like what the return rate is, what were the customer reviews, making it better. And then eventually, once we hit $1 million pretty quickly once we fine-tuned that formula enough that people started sharing it with their friends. And then the next step was to change the technology. So I wanted to combine beauty and technology for the longest time into a space that needed it. And we found that oral care was somewhere that when you buy toothpaste, when you buy mouthwash, it's because you ran out and you need more. We wanted to create the category premium oral care. We wanted to invent premium oral care as with products that not only do you need them, but you actually want them.
Right.
That's never been done before. And so I saw that huge challenge. As long as people have teeth, we have a market. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I could do this for the rest of my life. I'm not a dentist, but I'm going to hire the best dentists in the world to help me build this. And luckily, a lot of them were willing to help out for free just because they were interested in seeing, could this be possible? Could this be made? And so now we've got the most advanced system ever invented, in history. We've got five global patents. We've got a wireless charging, self-sanitizing mouthpiece, waterproof. You can shower with it. Automatic shade detection. It detects every shade of each tooth and automatically changes. Smart learning within the device. Fits in the palm of your hand, and it has nearly as much technology as an iPhone. And it's $299. And so it's an aspirational brand that is mass market, and our platform holds all the data so that it learns as more and more people use it. It allows us to create better and better products. So we've got a lot of products coming out this year. I'm going into our first big fundraising round. Everything's been self-funded, bootstrapped, scrappy up until now. It still is. But now we have 10 million people a month that see our advertisements, close to 2 million monthly shoppers, and hundreds of celebrity partners. And it really is now we have more website traffic than Crest, Colgate, Sensodyne, everybody combined times 10.
Wow.
And so we've really kind of captivated this market of premium oral care. And now we want to spread it to the 180 countries we sell to. Now it's like a rocket ship because people have been wanting a premium product for them to be excited about. And so anyway, that's kind of where that came from. Was I saw the opportunity through my friends who were dentists and oral surgeons. With their help, able to understand the formula. I studied every single thing I could get my hands on to really entrench myself into this industry. And customers have, they love our product. We have less than a 0.5% return rate, even though we give a results guarantee, 5-year warranty. And every month has just been more exciting, more challenging, of course. And now we're going into, what started off as a scrappy, let's just see if this will work, to now kind of listening to customers, continuing to double down. Now we have, upcoming purchase orders. We have retailers offline, some of the largest retailers interested in carrying our product. And that's why now internationally as well, now I'm like, okay, I think that in order for us to get the product to as many people as possible, we sell confidence is what we sell. We want to get it out there to everyone. I'm going to need the partners that can enable me to get this product on every single shelf, worldwide. And that's kind of where we're figuring that out, this year.
Yeah, because when the you first contacted me about getting on the show, I was like, oh my God, I need that. Especially as like the amount of coffee drinkers and wine drinkers there are. And so it is right away something where somebody's just like, I need that.
That's right.
And on top of that, just to find out that you knew nothing really about the space just like blows me away, because you definitely have this like, I'm going to make it happen. And the fact that people just like, I don't know, opened up and told you what to do and helped you with it. I mean, it's crazy because I guess, so many of us think there's nothing special about me, or I don't know anything. How can I come up with a product? And here you just like made, put the pieces together, found a problem and you solved it.
Well, nobody knows anything. I mean, it's really at the end of the day, just like when I went to university, and I would take these difficult honors classes. I was sitting there and I'm like, I'm some poor kid. None of my brothers and sisters graduated college. Like, what am I doing here? Like, I should just drop out, or I should just like, I'm trying too hard, or I'm aiming too high. I should just be happy with, graduating high school and just go get a job, or like those constant thoughts that run through your head. And that's all the BS that just circulates in your mind, these limiting beliefs. And so I've learned how to train my mind to just literally blast through the BS, just whatever is in front of me. I've trained my mind that nothing is going to stop me. And I think that going through adversity and starting off as a young entrepreneur, in my case, everybody's got their own cocktail of adversities and BS that they have to blast through. And my cocktail just taught me at an early age that there are no excuses. Everybody starts somewhere. And you look at the most successful entrepreneurs, they all started somewhere as well. And they didn't know, Elon Musk knew nothing about, electric cars, electric vehicles. He saw an opportunity where the costs of batteries were going down as the price of oil and supply demand were going up. And he realized that by 2025, it's going to be cheaper to produce an electric vehicle than it is to produce a standard vehicle. And so he said, if I can get ahead of this curve and create a product that people not only need but want because it's sexy, that he's going to be able to captivate that audience, own the market share. So once the price of batteries hits that low, that his margins are going to skyrocket, and he'll have control over the energy market with Solar City and all the stuff that he's doing. So it was really just like zooming out, saying, this is an opportunity. I don't know anything, but if that guy didn't know anything either, he learned it. All he had to do was read and focus for a little bit. That's the thing about having that intellectual curiosity to say, I don't know anything, but I'm going to learn it. I wake up every day and I'm like, I know nothing, but I'm willing to learn it.
Wow.
And, every day I wake up, no matter if I'm in my Lamborghini or if I'm walking to the coffee shop, every day I wake up and I'm still that kid, poor kid with a huge dream, with the grit to make it happen. Every single day I wake up and I say, I have to earn my spot in this world, the impact that I'm given, the opportunity to have the impact that I'm given, and say, I have to keep that in mind, that I'm still that big kid. We're all big kids. I hang out with 75 and 82-year-olds. My partner and one of my best friends in our nonprofit foundation, he's 82 years old. He's incredibly successful. He's business partners with Warren Buffett, has a company on the stock exchange right now, New York Stock Exchange. And every day he wakes up with that curiosity like a kid. And he's 82 years old. And when we're together, age does not matter. We are just brainstorming. We're thinking of ideas. He reads every single day. He's constantly thinking of deals, ideas, and that imagination has never left him, which I think is why he's so incredibly vibrant and alive. And all I want to be 82 years old, just like my buddy Mort, and I want to have that same energy, that imagination, that anything is possible. And I think that we lose that because the limiting beliefs create an environment where we're almost embarrassed to think big and to think that we could actually do this. And the truth of the matter is, You can do just about anything. You're in control of your mind. You're in control of those limiting beliefs. They're created by your own mind. And so shattering through all that, changing the people you follow, change the people you hang out with, even if that means it's just you and YouTube and podcast in your own room, in a dark little room, totally fine. I hang out, sometimes I'm watching YouTube videos on 2 times speed. I'm reading a book, I'm writing notes, and it's just me and my little Yorkie. And I know my dog is always going to believe in me. And so that's all I need. And I will make it happen. And what happens is, first they laugh at you, and then they kind of realize it's a Gandhi quote. First they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. And so there's this process of, when you put the dream out there, it's like, oh, that sounds great. Yeah, that sounds cool. And then you start to do it, and then they're like, oh my gosh, like this guy's actually doing it. Then they fight you, right? In terms of like big companies or lawsuits, whatever happens. And if you persist, you persevere through all those adversities, you ultimately will win. And it's just people give up too quickly. They think too small. They let those limiting beliefs cave in their opportunity. I just start with this huge abundant mindset where I say, anything's possible. Elon Musk wants to live on Mars. Okay, I want to live on Venus. Like you just start up there and say, okay, I'm going to shatter through whatever comes at me, and anything that hits me, I am happy. When we get hit with adversity or challenge in the business, they say, Josh, something happened with the factory. The government shut down. Now we can't get our products fast enough. I said, yeah, that sucks, but I love it because now we're learning. Like I love the challenge. I love when bad things happen. I love it because I get the opportunity to learn from that. It's a challenge, and you only grow through challenge.
Wow, this has just been amazing. This is like with the kick in the pants I needed too, because some days you're just like, after I left corporate America a year ago, and I'm, some days I'm just like, what did I do? So just every day, to hold that like fire under your, the seat of your pants to just keep going. This has just been so amazing. So I just really appreciate the time, and I just learning from you. It's just been, I don't know, this just like made my week, my month. So I so appreciate it, Josh, being here. So where can people find out about your product?
I'll leave you with one thing. So anyone who's interested in snow, try snow.com, or you can just Google snow teeth whitening, which is our top selling product. We have a anti-aging lip care line as well, anti-aging lip treatment and lip scrub. But try snow.com, check it out. Once you get on there, we're going to tag you, and you're going to see our ads for the next 6 years. So I apologize, but you'll be able to see everything on there. Feel free to Google my name, add me wherever you'd like. I'm very transparent with our journey and our story and the multiple brands that we own. Snow just happens to be one of those that has taken off, but we own multiple brands in our family of brands. And one thing I'll leave you with is that the reason I do this, the reason why I speak, and the reason why I present, I have no financial incentive to do any of this, but I realize that people like yourself have realized the opportunity to create impact, and you're a multiplier, because when I share with you, you're going to share with an audience who's going to share with their audience, who's going to then create jobs, create opportunity. That multiplier is the incentive for me to be transparent and share my absolute best advice from what I've learned. I don't know everything. I'm simply sharing my experiences, what I've learned from other people, and what's working for me at the moment. And so that multiplication is what gets me excited, because now thousands of people will listen to this interview, and maybe a few of them will take something and go and create big companies or opportunities or nonprofits, or share that message on. I'm simply the messenger, sharing to a multiplier who multiplies that message. And for me, thinking that way gets me really excited. And so I think that your higher calling of leaving corporate America is you realize you have the opportunity to impact a lot more people. Right. And the last story I'll share with you is I was speaking to a group of students, and one student raises their hand and says, do you feel like you took the easy way out by being an entrepreneur? Aren't entrepreneurs greedy? They just want to make a bunch of money. And I said, successful entrepreneurs are the least greedy or selfish people on earth. Because in order for you to in a capitalistic society, in order for you to create a lot of wealth for yourself, generally you have to create a lot of value for the system. And so that means you're creating jobs. If you go public, you're really creating a lot of opportunity, because now Jeff Bezos has created countless billionaires by becoming a billionaire. And so if you're the smaller business that you are, or if you just work a job, that to me, I don't want to say it's selfish, but if you juxtapose it to Jeff Bezos, who's created opportunity and 100,000 jobs,
Yeah.
that's that I want to shatter that limiting belief, because a lot of times people think if I want to make more money, that means I'm greedy. People are going to look at me in a different way. Be proud of your dreams. Be proud of your success. Speak from the mountains, because you're going to inspire other people to realize that that's something that they may want to do. And you never want to limit the opportunity of someone else.
Oh, that's perfect. That is perfect. Because yeah, I have a couple people working for me too. So by doing what I do, I hire, I like support other people in their vision. So sometimes we think, oh, it's just little of me, but yeah, it's a good point.
You're a multiplier. That's
Yeah.
right.
Thank you so much, Josh, for being here today.
Course.
It's just been amazing.
Thanks, Heather.